Welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts. We are again today sponsored by our friends at Fan Team. You can get your free application, your free account set up right now. All the information you need is in our description below. Just click on the link, get yourself signed up. One of the best football fantasy applications in the world. I'm joined again this Wednesday by the brilliant Jessica Black is here. How are you?
I'm good, but usually I'm there for the intro. What happened?
I clicked on the wrong button. That's all it was.
Yeah, and I was like, why am I
I
here?
wanted to style it out, and you just like outed me straight up. You just outed me straight away. But how are you? You good?
I'm good. I can't complain. How are you?
Man United won a game of football. We won a game of football. We are back. We're coming third now this season. I've read on the TL today. So happy days. It's mad how quickly it turned around. Like people going, "You were still angry last night, Terry? Why?" Like, there's still a lot. We didn't make our first tackle until the 50th minute. Like there's still things to be worried about. But look, we won Champions League night tonight. Interviewing Jermaine Beckford this week. Got a brand new show coming out next week as well with some massive Premier League stars. So yeah, lots to be happy about. Yeah. How are you though? And I've asked 3 times now.
You've already asked me that.
Yeah, but you just say, yeah, I'm fine, and you say nothing else.
That's how I do my intro. I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you? It's normal.
Well, you look good though. You look good. I'm liking the hairstyle.
Thanks. This is how it grows out of my head. So yeah.
Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. You compliment. That's how it grows out of my head. This is my natural hair as well. This is mine. It's been repurposed, repositioned.
Are you feeling yourself now that you got a hairline? What's going on? How you feeling?
I think once I'm back in the gym from tomorrow, I can go back to the gym. So then I'll probably feel a little better. I like to be so careful with what I've been eating the last 2 weeks because like not been able to exercise and stuff. And I lost like a stone so far this year in weight, like 14, 15 pounds. So yeah,
don't be like those people in the gym. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, you should, because I do my gym chronicles, and don't be that guy where the weight and the reps are not matching the struggle, in there grunting and making strange noises, trying to make everybody look at you like it's
well, that's what it's for, isn't it? It's peacocking. It's peacocking. But remember, boys, when it comes to you being a peacock, one day those feathers fall out. When the feathers are gone, you're basically a cock. Do you know what I mean? That's all you got left. That's all you got left. And be very careful, gentlemen. And I'm not talking about the manhood. I'm talking about being one. Right. Where we're going to start. Do you know what? We've got to start one place today. We have to start with Trent Alexander-Arnold. This man. Trent Alexander-Arnold creates the level of outrage and triggering that he has created in the past 24 hours is mad, to a point where he's made a man, 30 years of age, sit on camera with a loser's medal and an England cap on. He has reduced Kyle Walker to doing this. I cannot for the life of me understand what has triggered Kyle Walker this much. And we will play what he said in a few moments. But in fact, no, we'll play what he said now. This to me was just mad.
Hi guys, hope you're well. Just want to say first and foremost, sorry that I couldn't be there tonight to be cheering you on. I'll be watching at home. Make sure that we get a good victory and a good position going into the second leg. I want to change this from a silver one to a gold one. But I feel that what we're doing and what we're achieving as a team, this will be the icing on the cake to end up in a final again and hopefully lift this Champions League. So all the best tonight, lads, and I'll see you when you get back. Hi, guys.
I mean, it's all a bit... And everyone knows why, right? I think we need to explain why as well. So I'll put that up on the screen as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold yesterday came out and in an interview essentially said that I'm not making any digs, but you look at Man City's amazing team and they haven't been able to lift the Champions League. We've won both over the last few years. Trent said this, and it seems to have absolutely triggered Man City fans and definitely Kyle Walker. Have you ever seen anything like it?
No, I haven't, but it's the elephant in the room, right? We all know that this Man City team is amazing and full of very, very good players. They have about 2 teams worth of world-class players in their team. They have possibly the best manager in the world. But the Champions League trophy has eluded them. And so it's there, as good as they are in the league, that's to be expected. But the real kind of thing that's there that they haven't been able to achieve is the Champions League. And Liverpool have done it. Like, they've already done it. And so although it may look like a dig, Trent is just speaking facts. What he said in that quote was not anything malicious, but obviously it hit a nerve with Man City and Man City fans because it's the truth. They know that without that Champions League, especially with Pep at the helm, they have underachieved with the team that they have. And so we go back to that conversation that we had at the beginning of the season, or when Champions League first kind of started, who needed this the most. And it's definitely PSG and Man City. They both need this trophy. They don't have it and they need it. And so I think that just shows the importance of winning the Champions League for Pep and Man City. And it's just an elephant in the room that nobody's really talking about because they've been so dominant in the league. That makes sense.
It does. And I don't think Trent was digging. I think he was talking about how big an achievement it is. And I know City fans don't like to hear this, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it anyway. Greatness only comes with a Champions League. European success is what takes you from being a supreme dominant domestic team into a global juggernaut, because you've got to add the Champions League winners medal. You've got to add then, at least competing, but if not winning the Club World Cup. These things as a collective means you've conquered Europe. You've conquered the things domestically, you've conquered Europe, and you've conquered the world. When I think about the greatest teams of all time, they've all done that. If Man City don't win a Champions League with Pep Guardiola, his team, domestically, people can argue. And that's why when this argument's kind of, I've seen this narrative kind of been planted for the past few years where people have been discussing Man City as one of the greatest ever Premier League or top flight teams of all time. And domestically, of course, they're there or thereabouts with some of the great Liverpool and Manchester United and Arsenal teams and Chelsea teams. But this Man City team, if we're going to talk all football, this doesn't compete with Bob Paisley's Liverpool yet. It doesn't compete with Fergie's Man United. And it doesn't compete with that opening number of managers, but that opening sort of 5, 6, 7 years under Roman, because those teams won different amounts of league titles, but they all won League Cups. They all won FA Cups. They all won Premier League. Some of them retained Premier League. Some of those teams did 3 Premier Leagues or equivalents on the bounce, but they all won the Champions League once, twice, or more in that time. And Man City have got to do that. As you said, Man City are a phenomenal, phenomenal team, taking nothing away from them. But in my opinion, it's there. You can see it. And look, Carl Walker putting on the England cap was clearly a dig to say, well, you may be saying that, but I'm England's right back over you. Like, you may think you're all this, but that for me was like, how are you triggered by something that's true? You all know you need the Champions League to create the ultimate level of greatness that transcends domestic football, and they need it. And it's just a straight. And any Man City fan denying it for me is lying to themselves, And I've got a lot of City fans that watch the show, but at the end of the day, and you're better than my club is now, you're better run than my club is now. I could admit all that, but until your team wins a Champions League, you're an echelon down from the European greats. You don't get to talk to Barca, Real Madrid, AC Milan, Ajax, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea's, who have all achieved greatness in their own way and won champ. You don't get to chat to them yet, but I think you will get there. And yeah, it's crazy how just the level of outrage that comment from, when I heard him say it, I actually got sent the video. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was a case of saying, this is how prestigious and amazing it is to win. City, I kind of interpret it as him saying, City are actually the better team, but we've won it. And that's the interesting thing. Winning the trophies matters more. You know, when we heard in the last few years about points totals and unbeaten runs and, level of goals and whatever else, none of that matters unless you're winning them trophies. The trophies are the only commodity that matters.
There's a saying that's like, it goes, a hit dog will holler, right? So it's kind of like somebody can put out a stray comment out there. You'll only start defending yourself or, come out swinging if it applies to you. And I think there's a little bit of that there where Man City, they know they are. I think there's this weird thing with fans as well where they think that players don't have these conversations. They're not aware of these things. They're very much so aware of where they sit. They're very hyper aware that they missed out on the Champions League last season, and they need it. They need it. That group needs it, or else, really, I mean, and I guess I'll ask you this question. Like, we know what these teams are like. Obviously, they were created in different times, but let's just say, we know what this team is. The Man City team that's had De Bruyne and, David Silva and Bernardo Silva, this team, Raheem Sterling, Mahrez, this team versus the Mane, Salah, Firmino team under Klopp. If that Pep team doesn't win a Champions League, can you say that the Liverpool team was better in the end of the day? Like when Klopp and Pep leave? If Pep's team doesn't win the Champions League, because,
some people definitely have that argument that they almost certainly will. Chelsea fans would argue that. I mean, Chelsea fans now think they are bigger than Arsenal, even though they don't have the same amount of FA Cups or Champions or Premier Leagues, league titles in general, because they've got 2 Champions Leagues and they've been champions of the world. And a lot of people back that notion. I think Liverpool need to win some more domestically before they say that. But if in the next 3 years, Klopp wins 2 more league titles, a couple of FA Cups and another Champions League, it becomes a really big debate. And it's interesting, some of the comments we're getting here. This is an intriguing one. Everyone is scared because they know what happens if City win. It's not even about being scared. Look, Leng and Sweet, you're a long-time viewer and contributor and moderator of the Football Terrace. You know I don't disrespect the football clubs when I'm speaking serious like we are here on Straight Facts. I've been scared of City for 3 years now. Every year I believe you can win the quadruple. Every year I can believe you can win the treble in a better style than Man United did. Every year I worry you're going to break real records that matter. How many trophies in a season, how you won them, how many on the bounce, and the total number of trophies you have in its entirety. You've already surpassed Man United in one area, more League Cups than we have. Over the next 10 years, do I think you could catch us in other areas or get closer to us? Of course. But until you're there, you haven't done it. And this is the thing. It's a lot of City fans take it as like the one here, Blue Viper says, we're reaching. We're not reaching. I think it's very disrespectful. And I've said this about Arsenal in the past. The reason I don't put Arsenal on the same level as other clubs is I don't care what the football look like. I don't care about the new diet regime that Wenger brought into Arsenal. These things are brilliant. But if you're not bringing in the trophies and the titles that come with it, you can't sit with other people. It's you have to have it. You have to have achieved at least the same achievements, and at the elite end of the spectrum, that's lifting those trophies. So I'm not reaching. I'm keeping the same energy as I always have here. Blue Mooney says, nobody lying to themselves. Explain Arsenal to me. I don't quite know what that means. But there we go. I want to ask you one other thing. What Pep has said, we showed it on the screen already, is that he does see that Liverpool are the only team that can stop Manchester City in the Champions League. Like, what's your take on this from Pep?
I mean, we kind of spoke about this with Husam the other day, that, we understand that the English teams are just so strong, like Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool. I guess you can throw Man United in there if we wanted to. If we wanted to throw them in there, we could. Yeah, no, but we,
thanks, thank you.
The English teams are really strong, and there could be a scenario where it ends up being 2 English teams in the final. I think a lot of people would put money on that. And if they had to put money on who it would be, they might say Liverpool and Man City. Man City just annihilated Sporting. That was so one-sided. It's ridiculous. This is the Champions League in round of 16, and they're just wiping them off. It's crazy. And we kind of saw, we kind of see, the teams in Europe are not really as strong as they used to be. It's not the old school Barcelona teams, Real Madrid teams of old. And so when you really look at who's left, you probably just say PSG on their day, if they decide to show up, and Bayern Munich may have a chance. But when you really look at it, the English teams are by far stronger. And Liverpool are just, with them being able to solidify that front line with an additional person. And Mane coming off the back of winning the AFCON and Salah obviously needing to prove something. You can look at them and say, you know what, like, it definitely could end up being them as well going into the back end of the season. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I do think that they're probably the two strongest teams, but also we've seen that. I think the one thing about Man City that we've seen in the Champions League is when they get down to the wire, Pep starts to overthink things, and he gets a little bit like, I don't know if it's like jitters or something like that.
Yeah.
And Klopp doesn't seem to have that same. He seems to know what he wants to do, and they can kind of get it over the line. So I think it's going to be close, but it'll be interesting to see if the Champions League and the Premier League come down to both of those two teams and who ends up on top.
It very well could. The English teams are more dominant than anybody else. Real Madrid have been talked up in the last few weeks by people, and I watched them last night, and it was like an episode. You may not be familiar with this show of Last of the Summer Wine, or a movie you might have remembered from your younger days in the States, Cocoon. Remember Cocoon, where all the old people were like, it's based on an old people's home. That's what watching Real Madrid is like. Benzema's great, but it was like watching a bunch of old men try and keep up with some young pups. PSG shouldn't worry any of the big boys in Europe because they've got Poch. They're not really a team. Messi is, we're going to get onto this later, but Messi is finished at the highest level as far as I'm concerned by his standards. He's still a very good player, but he is finished for me. Like, I watched him last night, and I'll get onto why I think he is finished. I rewatched the game again today. It's not even about ability. He is mentally checked out.
Why are you blowing up your mentions right now?
I'm not blowing up my mentions.
Yeah, you are.
What do you mean?
Do this thing where you're talking about Messi. You know the Messi fanboys are going to come for you saying that.
I don't care, but I don't care about fanboys. I've realized that fanboys aren't football fans, so their opinions are mute. If you don't support a football club first, your opinion is null and void now, as far as I'm concerned. Only message. But like, they're not going to win it. Bayern Munich are the only team outside the Prem that are a threat to Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I put Chelsea into that mix as well. Chelsea are a colossal cup team under Tuchel. The man's played every tournament he's managed. Chelsea insofar he's got to the damn final. So they're absolutely brilliant. They're going to be they're a powerhouse as well, and no one's anywhere near them. And I know it really weird. It kind of triggers some people are strange. They support English teams first; they're their clubs, but they get very offended when you say like the English teams are the strongest in Europe. I don't know what kind of triggers that in people's minds. It's just facts for me. But yeah, I think Liverpool and City, in my opinion, are the only two teams that can stop Man City in the Champions League this year. If they don't, I think they can win it. And I think they will propel themselves into the greatest conversations. They add a Champions League plus the league they most likely will win this year. The debate then starts, and it's a fair debate, and it will happen on the terrace, is this City team over the last 6 years the best Premier League team of all time? And what more do they need to do if they're not to become the best Premier League or best English club side of all time? They're on the edge. They just need that Champions League. So, but it's kind of bittersweet for me because I only believe Chelsea and Liverpool can stop them. I don't want Chelsea winning it again because then they match Man United's 3. And if Liverpool win it again, they go to 7, which means we need to win 4, which is more than we've won in the history of our club, which means I'm never going to get my dream of having more Champions League than Liverpool when I die. So it's a horrible situation for a Man United fan, but it could be worse. I could be Spurs or Arsenal. And then you know what I mean? It could be a lot worse. I'm sorry to dig you out, but it is true. But yeah, look, City just need to get their heads down. Yeah, one thing I would say could damage them, like you've said, they overthink things. And the fact that you've got one of their most senior players sitting there on a video with his England cap on his head, like for me, it's like the level of like the levels that he's triggered there are absolutely
that I couldn't be there tonight.
Absolutely crazy. When you look at that again, to sit there like that as a professional footballer,
Kyle.
I mean, I don't know what's worse, this or him and his missus in the dog food scenario again. Do you know what I mean? I think this is more embarrassing than the pedigree chum. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I think it's less embarrassing when your dog's licking pedigree chum off your missus than it is putting that hat on for a video, to be frank.
Yeah. I don't know what that's about. I wonder if he got somebody must have sent him a message like, can you not embarrass us? Like, come on.
I don't know. Can you imagine? If you're, I don't know. I don't know. If your other half was to go on it's just, why are you so triggered? Like, why so triggered? Trent Alexander-Arnold was just speaking pure facts with me. But there we go. In terms of Champions League tonight, I know we previewed it a couple of days ago. Are you still confident for Liverpool, or do you feel like, I mean, Liverpool have had a lot of. Well, let's talk about that in a minute. Actually, got quite a few super chats. I had them ping through to me. I want to put these out. I don't want to miss these. First one says, "Big up to the real ones. Good morning, Jess. She knows football. Big respect. Terry, is it really an outrageous thing to say? So nervous for tonight." I don't think it's an outrageous thing to say when you're speaking facts. What I'm talking about is like the fact he has created outrage, but it seems to have really, the TL was mad for it. When I saw Trent trending and people I saw tweets like, I can't believe Trent said that. I was like, I thought to myself, oh, what's happened? I thought it was going to be something juicy and potent, entertaining. No, he literally just said City ain't won the Champions League. I thought, why has that made anyone angry? Pep will never win the Champions League at Man City, could only do it when he had a god in his team at Barca. Every year he doesn't is a failure, is what Red Wolf has got to say. Strip Bear, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you very much indeed. Liverpool is clearly in City's head, is what Michael Ramsey's got to say.
Yeah.
Trent is going to have it in the second leg. I pray he's fit for the second leg at Anfield Stadium. He will never be walking alone. ACL injured. Is he injured, Trent?
Trent is going to have it in the second leg. I pray he's fit for the second leg at the Etihad Stadium. He will never walk alone.
Are you saying you want him to be fit for the second leg so that someone can injure him, Malik?
That's what it feels like, but I don't even want to think about that. So
you can't be wishing, man. Malik's wishing an ACL injury upon Trent because Trent has stated a fact.
I mean, Trent just said the truth. Like, it just is what it is. And like, City, like, if you can't win with this team, what the hell? You know, like, they have to look at it and be realistic. Like, Arsene Wenger should have been able to win the Champions League with the Arsenal teams that he had between 2000 and 2004. He should have been able to do it. He didn't do it. It was a failure. And that doesn't mean that I think that he was a shitty coach or anything like that. Pep is not, if he doesn't win it, he's not the worst manager ever. He just will have failed in that category. And it's obvious that it's something that they need to get over. It's an elephant in the room. Nobody talks about it because they're doing so well in the league. And if you speak about a team as good as Man City in any light that's not super positive, you're looked at as a hater. But all people are saying is that they haven't won the Champions League. It's facts.
Yep, absolutely.
It is what it is.
Brian here says, please explain how Pep is the greatest. He took over a team already winning titles. Klopp took over a team that finished 8th. And no money.
Well, then Klopp spent a lot of money to redo that team, and that team is not like, you guys. You guys.
Look, Liverpool.
I get it. Let's not try to act like one is like a poor man, rich man. Like, you know.
Yeah, you're not Burnley. It's like, no, they've got 20 billion and I've only got 10
this isn't
billion.
Leicester winning the league. Like, you have a team full of, I mean, you went out and spent money on Alisson, Van Dijk. A lot of the players that you have are amazing. Of course, it's not the same as Pep and the level of investment that they put into that team, but let's not sit here and act like Klopp is out here working with, like you said, Burnley.
I look at it this way as well. As much as City have spent more money, that's undeniable. There's also a pressure with spending that money on making it work. So handling the pressure of spending that amount of money, people think checkbook managers have it easy, but there's less leeway for a checkbook manager. You have to get success every week, every game, every minute of every game, because you spent money, and handling that pressure is very, very difficult indeed. It was unnecessary for Trent to say what he said, is a claim here. Angelo says, every year I expect City to win the Champions League for the last few seasons, but every year they choke. They will win it someday, but they should have won it by now, is the claim. But there we go. Just quickly before we move, later on the show, Pete, we are speaking Lionel Messi. Is Lionel Messi finished at the highest level? We're going to be talking
Is
about
Ronaldo finished at the highest level?
Well, you can bring that question up when we're talking. Don't ruin the content now. Hold your horses. It's so premature. Hold it in. Hold it down. Hold it down. We're going to be speaking Chelsea back in Tuchel, and what do they need to catch Man City and Liverpool domestically. And we are going to talk the Arsenal disrespect. And I'm not even going to let you all know what I mean by that now. You've got to stay with us. The Arsenal disrespect is getting beyond a joke. And I don't like seeing it. I don't like seeing it personally. I'm a rival. It's bothering me. It's legit. I'm not. It's true. It is true. But just quickly tonight, are you confident that Liverpool will get the job done tonight? I mean, their fans seem supremely confident.
I do think that, my only debate with Husam was to the extent of which they will beat Inter Milan. I get that the English teams are so much stronger, but I personally think that Inter Milan do have players that could hurt Liverpool if they could put it together. But I do expect Liverpool to win this. They're looking really good. There was a moment in time, like a couple of games span, I remember we talked about it, where they just didn't look like themselves. We didn't know what they were going to look like without Mo Salah and Mane. And they've answered a lot of those questions, and they've come out the other side, putting pressure on Man City. So I do expect them to go through, but I expect it to be a closer game than, let's say, Man City Sporting. I don't think it's going to be that level of, I think it's going to be a close game, but I expect Liverpool to still come out on top.
Yeah, no, I hear you completely. Liverpool will win. Husam's confident. I mean, his confidence actually annoyed a lot of Liverpool fans who were like, no, don't do that. Like, again, everybody's worried about someone from their fan base being clipped up now. It's crazy. Let fans be fans. Let people live. Let them do their thing. It's crazy. But I suppose what I have seen on socials more recently is certain types of fans are allowed to have hot takes and big opinions, when other fans or other channels, especially up and comers, I found this so much recently. You'll get someone that's not very well known or new to the content creating game, and they'll say something, I don't know, like Tomiyasu is the Japanese Bellerin. I'll use that as an example. I have no actual issue with the normal everyday people saying, I don't like this. I don't like the opinion. I don't like fan cams. That's fair. That's an opinion you're allowed to have. When I see like other content creators who are famed for bad takes or big takes or hot takes, or they work for channels that are famous for these things, when I see them kicking off at new up-and-coming content creators, it really bothers me, especially when they themselves are still continually releasing statements which are mad. That's the only time it really bothers me. When like a normal Liverpool fan saying, Terry, I don't like the way Husam represents our club, I kind of respect that. When I see like another content creator who is famous for saying mad things, I think it's wrong that you have people on giving hot takes, I sort of think, what world are these people living in? Like, who the hell are you? Like, I can't believe it. It's mad. But that's just me. There we go. We had a few more super chats that came through, actually. First one says, Klopp won with Dortmund, who virtually spent nothing, though. Dortmund was on the verge of bankruptcy. This is very, very true. Do you realize Liverpool have spent less than Arsenal in the past few years? The net spend is not even in the top 10 in the league. The recruitment at Liverpool is probably the best in the world.
Nobody's saying it's not, but I'm also saying you're not spending no money. Two things can be true: that the recruitment is good, they spend wisely, they develop players, all that kind of stuff. Didn't say that they didn't have excellent recruitment, but let's not act like you're out here with Burnley.
I look at it two ways. When you celebrate how good your recruitment team is at getting top quality players for like a lot less money than everybody thinks they're worth, and when you sell people for a lot more money than they're worth, you can't celebrate that and the fact you don't spend at the same time, in the sense of because the spending is a case of what level of, if your club are so good at negotiating that you can get a 50 million pound player for 30 million, the level of quality you're buying, you're still expecting 50 million pounds worth of performances because that's how good they are. You don't sign somebody cheaply and go, yeah, well, I only expect him to deliver like an 8 million pound player because that's what we paid. Liverpool's recruitment team, you're absolutely spot on, is sensational. It's absolutely sensational. The level of, getting 25 million for someone like Jordan Ibe is phenomenal business and deserves nothing but credit. At the same time, though, that's why the mythical net spend looks so good, because that team is so great. But you have still gone out and bought brilliant quality players, and you've still gone out and sold the dead wood. That element deserves absolute set, but you haven't bought trash. Andy Robertson's an interesting one. You didn't buy an £8 million player. You bought someone that Jurgen Klopp and your team knew was one of the best left backs, or going to be one of the best left backs in the world. You just did the business early. And that's because you're a brilliantly run club. So that's why I don't go with the net spend thing. I look at it on how good are the players you've signed, what's their actual valuation, and what are your expectations. What you would sell a player for is what I expect from them. So I look at Andy Robertson. I don't look at him as an £8 million signing. I look at him as a 90 to 100 million pound player. He's one of the best fullbacks in the world, one of the most consistent footballers in the world, and he's absolutely brilliant. So Liverpool, you're right, don't spend as much money. And I do wish, I guarantee you, if you had the same people running the recruitment element at City, they would have spent less as well. You just have the best in the business at that. And I think that's something that Liverpool fans should be so, so proud of. But what I don't think you can have is celebrating that you don't spend anything at the same time saying, wow, our negotiators managed to get brilliant players cheaply. Those two things, in the way you're framing them, don't compute for me at the same time. You're buying top quality, but you're getting them cheaper. You're not buying shit that you turn into good players. I kind of feel like that both those stories get spun at the same time, but there we go. Terry Tibbs, here problem is fans don't like saying we've spent money. We have to deal with it. You'll never walk alone. Look, Liverpool spent less money than other big clubs, but you're a powerhouse still. So again, it's presenting yourselves like you're paupers. You're not.
It's not Leicester when they won the league. I think that's my main thing. But like Klopp has done a lot with less than what other teams like in the similar bracket have spent. Like, you know what I mean? So like we get it, but like, like we can't, let's not over egg it. Like, let's not over egg it. You know what I mean? Like, that you have about 3 or 4 players, maybe even 5 that you could probably sell now for like 100 million. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, come on. Like,
but what I want Liverpool fans to understand I'm saying here is I'm celebrating your club. How amazing is it that you identified Mane and Salah for being what they are, 150 million pound plus players, but you were able to get them in cheaper? That's brilliant. But you have still invested your money into world-class players. You just have the best scout. If you've got the best scouting and negotiating team, you're always going to spend less than people that are not as good at that. But it's about the quality of player you buy. So I don't necessarily look overall at the checkbook. I don't look at it from a point of view. Man United have bought quality, but we just bought the wrong type of players for our club. Like, we've bought quality players. And sometimes we've signed players where people have gone, could challenge now, and then it hasn't worked because you've overspent. They weren't right. The manager didn't want them. Liverpool get it. And this is where Liverpool fans should be so proud of their club. For certain elements, what they've done. The level of quality, the price they get them in for, how they fit into the system, the mentality of the players, the behavior of the players, how Liverpool have done that, I would say is the very best in the Premier League. Even pound for pound, no one is as good at Liverpool as that. They are. They're just phenomenal at doing it. They really, really are.
I think this just all goes back to like, when you're saying this, like, well, we haven't spent and we did it at whatever. This all goes back to how do we place Klopp above Pep, even though Pep has won more trophies than Klopp in his time at Liverpool. And you have to look at both situations completely different, because I agree with Terry 100% that I think there's a disrespect that is given to managers that have very expensive squads, i.e. what Pep is able to do and what Pochettino is unable to do. They both have excellent squads, but one is able to manage the squad better than the other. There are expectations there for Pep that are not there for other managers. Like, you know what I mean? That don't have that level of star. So they're both different situations. And I understand that Liverpool fans want to elevate Klopp above Pep, but it's hard to do that when Klopp hasn't won as much. You know what I mean? So what you want to say is, well, we've had less. So because we've had less and we've had these less good players and he's been able to do this, that he's better than Pep. I don't know if that washes because both managers have different things to deal with. They're both excellent in their own right, but they're in different environments. So it's hard to compare the two.
Absolutely. And I look at it from this point of view as well. Liverpool have gone up to a new level now. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see their next band of recruitment, what they get for players that are being moved on as well. So they will try to cash in. It looks like they will look like they're going to try and cash in on one of their front three right now. Will they get as much money for them as they initially wanted? No. But Liverpool fans' expectations are higher. They may do it this way. Do they have the time to buy players of a certain age and level and wait 2 or 3 more years for them to start competing again? I don't know. They've just dropped, you think about, they dropped sort of 30, they spent 76 million so far this season, and that could rise up to more with Diaz if he becomes successful. That can rise to nearly 70 million pounds. That's a fair, that's a fair investment in itself. But they move players on well, and I think that utilizing the loan market's important. Not only to keep players' valuations up. One of the things that my club got really wrong for years is you had players sitting on our bench and in our reserves that we should have been loaning out. We started doing it a little bit under Ollie. We loaned out Smalling and then got a decent fee. We should have got a decent fee this summer for Jesse Lingard if we had a good negotiating team. You could have easily got 25, 30 million for him after the back end. Look what Arsenal did. You utilized the loan market with Willock. He did well. You cashed in because you guys knew that man weren't worth more than 8 million quid, but you got sort of 3 to 4 times his value almost, really. And that's what Liverpool have been impeccable at doing that. 12 million quid for Harry Wilson. I'm looking here, they got 10 million pounds for Dejan Lovren, which is astronomically good. Danny Ings, who barely kicked the ball for Liverpool, went for 22 million pounds. It's crazy the level of money. Dominic Solanke went for 20 million pounds. It's crazy. Mamadou Sakho, 25 million pounds. They even got 5 million for Lucas Levy. They got 30 million for Benteke. It's good. It's amazing business. It really is amazing business. But it's what I find interesting is just the framing of those things. But on to the other point, I think Liverpool will win tonight. Yeah. Comment here from Wayne. Actually, we'll come back to that one in a minute because it mentions Arsenal. City may have all the glory, but they can't even fill their stadium on most match stages, what Jason said. But being a world-class manager like Pep or Klopp, what are both have an ability to control egos is why they are the best and other managers fail. I kind of agree with that. It's very true. Paul were Leicester's level before Klopp arrived is what SS has got to say.
But you weren't there when you started winning things. I'm not going back through it.
Yeah, I hear you. Arsenal chat coming up, Messi chat coming up. I want to speak Chelsea so stay with us. Make sure like buttons are being smashed. I want to speak Chelsea for a bit because there's a lot of talk at the minute about Chelsea kind of backing Tuchel big this summer. And we don't quite know what that looks like. We've seen Tchouaméni, we've seen Declan Rice, we've seen all these names mentioned. Buying players are going to be key. Do you think who they allow him to sell is also going to be important?
Yeah, selling players is also important, so I think who he doesn't want in the squad has to go, no questions asked. When you back a manager, you also have to be willing to part with players for whatever, in order to give that manager the squad that he needs. And sometimes just relieving yourselves of some dead wood or maybe even some personalities in the squad that don't really mesh with what he's trying to do is important. So, I'm not saying that this is exactly what's happening, but if somebody like Ziyech is not happy and Tuchel doesn't see him as a part of his plans, even though they bought him 2 summers ago, get rid, move on, replace him with somebody that Tuchel really wants. And I think it's difficult when you have such an expensive squad that's been built over a couple of years, to have a new manager come in and kind of want to do something new and feeling like you're wasting money. But the reality is that Tuchel is the best manager that Chelsea, I feel like, can have, at this point in time. Like, if he were to leave, who else are you going to get? So you kind of have to go 100% with him, especially because he's actually backed it up, like he did go through having a mismatched squad of other managers, players, and being able to win the Champions League with them and all that kind of stuff. So I do think Tuchel's done a really good job. And so he's kind of owed a summer where he can say, I don't want these players and I want these players, make it happen. And Abramovich needs to do that and not intervene with players that he wants or the board wants or whatever. Give Tuchel who he needs, because the reality is that I think Tuchel is the only manager that Chelsea can get at this moment in time that can help them close the gap with City and Liverpool. And that's going to take more than just buying players. You have to have a manager, like we just spoke about, that can manage the egos, that has the tactics, that has the energy and the confidence and all of that. And I just don't see that anywhere else. I don't see any other managers that would give Chelsea that same opportunity. And so they have to do it. And so Chelsea fans should probably be excited about this. But I also look at the fact that a lot of this came after the transfer window where they didn't do anything. And Chelsea are different than Manchester United and Arsenal. We know that. But there is a level of, okay, well, now that you said it, you have to do it, because they didn't do anything in January. They said that Tuchel was kind of okay with having the players that he has and all that kind of stuff. So put your money where your mouth is and make it happen. And it's not so much about spending the money for me. We always know Chelsea are going to spend the money, but it's not intervening with players that he does not want. No Lukaku's, none of that,
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, if they could bring in Rice, Tchouaméni, and Koundé, Jules Koundé that they've mentioned, those three players, Gallagher and Broja coming back, quality. That elevates their squad almost instantly. I think they've got to get rid of Lukaku. I don't believe for a second that all is sunshine and rainbows, all is well between the parties. I just don't think it is. Equally, Lukaku just ain't good enough. I don't care how much money he costs. He isn't good enough consistently at Premier League football to deliver. And I don't think it matters whether you're an out-and-out number 9, a number 10, a wide player. City have kind of proven that it's about being consistent enough and prolific enough in front of goal, either as a collective or individually, to deliver. That's all that's let Chelsea down this year. So when we talk about what does backing Tuchel look like, they need more goals from more players. And they need to look at this squad and go, right, Kai Havertz, Lukaku, Callum Hudson-Odoi. I'm looking at those three players. On ability, in different areas of the game, they're all up there. They're all players that are rated, that are highly valuable. But like we were saying earlier about Liverpool's recruitment, what you cost and what you can actually deliver, your actual value, are two very different things. And what Chelsea need to be good at, and don't ever allow themselves to become like Man United but if they don't want to get to that point where they're saying, oh, but he cost 95 and he cost 70. They were both record signings, one summer after the other. We're going to stick by them to try to make them work. Sometimes you've got to go, do you know what? If we sell them now, we're going to lose 20, 30 million pounds on each. But actually, is it more valuable for the football club to promote Broja and go and sign, I'm trying to think of another name, João Felix, to play more of a 10 role behind Broja? Will that yield more goals for us? And João Felix could be the complete wrong player. It's just the first that popped into my head. Will that yield more goals, more wins, more victories, more silverware? Because that's got to be, this is where fans get obsessed. Another reason I don't like the net spend thing is, so what if your net spend looks worse because of it? If you're winning, do you really care? I think some fans have got into that mold of going, I really want to win, but I want to win with like a negative net spend, and I want it to be I want to buy 30 million pound players instead of 60 million pound. It's almost like the banter and the criticism from rivals has become so potent. It's like, now it needs to, I want to buy like the superstars. I need them to deliver. Get rid of all the deadwood that ain't worth anything that nobody rates. It's kind of weird now. Like what Thomas Tuchel needs is these underperforming players sold. He needs backing in areas where he needs players. And it doesn't matter if Declan Rice is £100 million. As long as you're not forfeiting other areas to build in buying him, bring him in. And they've got to future-proof their team as well, because 2 or 3 of their better players, like their back line, are getting on a bit now. Their midfield is getting towards their early 30s. In another 18 months, 2 years' time, those guys will be, where Ronaldo and Messi are right now, just very much past their best. So it's a very interesting summer for Chelsea. And the crazy thing is Chelsea are in a great space, because Chelsea has still got a great opportunity of winning at least one more piece of silverware this year. They're in a final. They're in the FA Cup. They're still in the Champions League. They could seriously be picking up 2, 3 more pieces of silverware this year. So they're not in a bad place. But I think Lukaku, Havertz, and Hudson Odoi need to be looked at. And people will say, what about Barkley? What about Loftus-Cheek? That's a prerequisite. They've got to go. I'm talking about
But
players.
Who's buying Lukaku?
I don't know. I think
because I think Inter are sitting there right now like, we did them, but like at the same time, they needed that money. So I'm not saying like they have like, but Inter have basically been able to like stay basically the same, and it's insane how little of an impact. I mean, and Inter fans will say that there's been an impact, but like when I'm looking at the table, I'm not seeing much of an impact in terms of Lukaku leaving. And Lukaku is not somebody who's going to go to another Premier League team. He's not. Do you really see? I mean, Real Madrid is going to get Mbappe, who's going to come out and get Lukaku now?
But not for 95 million. But this is what I just said. If they turn around and go, right, we're willing to take up to 60, Juve, Inter, AC, someone like that will come in for a
team. Do you see from a footballing standpoint? I feel like that makes sense. But from a business standpoint, does that make sense to take the level of a loss on somebody like him?
No, but Roman Abramovich has never run Chelsea Football Club like a business. Although there's business people there that do it, I've always felt Chelsea would lose money to improve their football team and not give a damn about the mythical net spend. Because the irony in it is this: it's cost versus income, or cost versus value is very important. Like saving face and not losing money, but keeping Lukaku, and you don't win the Premier, you don't win the Champions League, or hemorrhage 30, 40, 50 million pound in negative, in poor net spend, but win the damn Premier League. Outside of Chelsea, everyone will try and discredit it. Oh, we're going to put an asterisk. Fans will always say we're going to put an asterisk next to it because you flopped with Lukaku, you flopped with Kai Havertz, you lost 60 million pound on them both, and then went and dropped even more money elsewhere. I know you've won the Premier League and Champions League because you've done that, but we're gonna take that achievement away from you, put an asterisk next to it. No real Chelsea fan's going to care. So I hear you. Business-wise, it isn't good. But if your business practices hinder what you do on the field of play, you're never going to be successful. And I'm talking here about the top 6. I'm talking about the elite end spectrum here. And again, what you are right about, if they say, no, we want 95 million for him, no one's going to pay it because they know you don't want him. And when you don't want a player anymore, you can never get full value for them. So I think you're right. It's going to be difficult for them, and that's going to be the area that has to work very hard this summer. It isn't even buying players. Chelsea can buy what they want within reason because they're Chelsea Football Club. They're the most successful team in England of the last 2 decades. They've got a great manager. They're based in London, which is a big pull for people. It's more about who can they sell, who can they get rid of, and how that kind of works. So, yeah, it's going to be an intriguing one indeed. Viewers, I want to know who you think they should sell and move on. Let's have a little look here at some of these comments. Jess, facts is what Bash says. I'm an Inter fan. There's no impact at all. Actually allowed us to change the way we play and become more fluent. Plus 100 million fluid. Sorry, no, fluent. You did say plus 100 million pounds. Terry, I agree with all you said about Lukaku this season not producing, but it's still just 1 year. I'd still give him one more and see what he's like with Broja. And maybe that's it. Maybe Tuchel will agree with you and think, well, actually, I think if we pair him with Broja, but that still means someone's got to move. That still means Kai Havertz. Right?
But then at the same time, like here's the thing with that is like, yeah, Broja probably has dreams of wanting to play for Chelsea Football Club. But he's 20. Does he need to be sitting on the bench behind Lukaku? And there's still Timo, like you said. So people have to go. And I don't really feel like that's an option. I feel like you have to remove, like you said, Lukaku needs to be removed. He's a huge, I mean, like in real life and also figuratively, a big person because he's not only financially, he's cost him a lot of money, but he's also like, I think he'll mess with the environment. He's somebody that doesn't seem like he's just going to sit and be quiet. Like if you starting Broja, what is Lukaku going to be doing? You know? So he's definitely somebody that probably needs to move. I don't see in a way where you could bring Broja back in after starting for Southampton and then have Lukaku there, because whichever one you're starting, you're going to have an issue there, you know?
I agree. I definitely think there's going to be an issue there. But viewers, what do you think it means when you read Chelsea are going to back Thomas Tuchel, or what do you want that to look like? Say, as a Chelsea fan, I want your comments in below. Remember, today we are being powered by Fan Team. You can sign up to your free account now. They've got so many games available. One of the biggest fantasy tournament creators. They've got daily fantasies, seasonal fantasies, Champions League fantasies. They've got the Champions League double right now that you can enter. As you can see, you've got 2 hours to get that done. There's the Liga games. They've got so many fantasy football games for you to play. Go and check it out now and join their Discord server. The link's in our description and pinned into our live comments section as well. Lionel Messi. I need to talk Lionel Messi. And I know people are going to think I'm going to be having a dig here. Lionel Messi, for me, is one of the top 2 football players ever. And by the way, super chatters that sound I've missed your comments, they're starred. We'll come back to them later when it's relevant to the conversation again. We'll do a bit at the end. Lionel Messi is one of the greatest players ever. Top 2, in my opinion, of all time. Him and Cristiano Ronaldo, nobody else, in my view, has ever been better. And I put that down to 2 things. One, the ability of the 2, the achievements, but their longevity. I've never seen some attacking players for 15, nearly 20 years maintain this level of consistency. But I've watched Messi play 3 or 4 Ligue 1 games, and I've watched all but one. Oh, no, I watched every single PSG Champions League game. And I think he's finished. I've still seen brilliance. I've seen some great goals. I still see the trickery and the skill. By the way, he still have some of the skill and trickery and touches when he's 60, right? That won't go. I feel like he's mentally checked out. And I said it on the match reaction show last night, and I watched the game back. I watched the extended highlights today because I wanted to reaffirm with myself what I believed. And it's crazy how I'm seeing from him in the same things that I'm seeing from Cristiano Ronaldo, but for 2 different reasons. I think Ronaldo's body is letting him down. I think the way he turns and the way he moves, he's just not as quick. He's just not as sharp. Messi, I still think his body's there or thereabouts. Father Time doesn't wait for anybody. He still looks 34 years of age on a football pitch. He doesn't look like the Messi of 25 to 30. But he doesn't look like he wants to be there. It's almost leaving Barcelona has kind of broke him. And I don't even mean this I'm not even being disrespectful to the guy. I just feel like it's like he feels hollow. Have you ever in your life made a decision, go to a new school, a college, go to live somewhere else, and you go there, and as soon as you arrive, you have like an empty feeling, like this, I shouldn't have done this. It is not. You can feel it's not right. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
No, because I always make the right decisions, but I understand the example. So there you go. I'd never be in a situation where I felt hollow. So there you go.
Have you seen the level? See how them dangerous. Yeah, them dangerous for them. But no, like I've done that. I remember I changed jobs. I left a really good company and went to work for another one because I thought it would be a good idea. And I arrived, and within 2 days, I was like, I've made the biggest career mistake of my life. I spoke to my old boss. They let me back in. And I got out of jail. Literally, but I've been there, and I just look at Lionel Messi. He's gone from last year. He still had a very good season in La Liga. He was still one of the best. He won the Ballon d'Or, right, for 2021. I look at him. He's gone to an easier league. He's surrounded by quality, and he just ain't doing it. and doesn't look like doing it. The drop off for me from what he was doing last season for, by the way, a poor Barca in a much harder league compared to what he's doing that now, it isn't a physical thing for me. He looks a little bit bigger now than he did then, but I think that's because he doesn't care anymore. Like, I know that sounds like such a weird thing, and I'm not talking about he's at home drinking, eating burgers, doesn't care, doesn't have the training. I'm talking there's a 5%, a 10% element that he's just not there anymore. And the reason I'm saying he's finished, and I'm saying this to mean is I think he should retire soon. And the reason I'm saying that, and I know you'll ask me about Ronaldo, is I've seen this happen with fighters. I've seen it happen with footballers. If you carry on too long when there's a decline, it can be damaging. As in, that's what people's their last memories of you is that. I want Messi. I want Ronaldo. I want them to go out on the top. I want them to go out when they're still at their best. And what I loved about Fergie's retirement as a manager was he went out as Premier League champion, the best in England. Still, if he would have carried on for 4 or 5 more years, and he took us through this last 9 years, so us coming in there, it would tarnish it a bit. You saw it with Wenger. You guys love Wenger, but he stayed on too long, and it got to a point where, please stop. And I've just got a feeling that Messi, I don't think we're ever going to see the same Messi again. Because I just think since he's left Barca, it's almost like he's pining for his ex, and he ain't committed to this new relationship. He just isn't for me. And yeah, it's sad to see. It's sad to see him, and Ronaldo to a degree, just such shadows of themselves. Please stop and retire. That's my take.
I guess my question to anybody who acts like they're shocked about this is why? Like, there are just some players that actually Messi is kind of special in this way, where he was Barcelona and Barcelona was him. So I never got the feeling that this move to PSG would be anything more than it is right now. Did I think it would be as poor as it's been? Not this bad, but am I shocked? No, because it just doesn't feel right. When you see him in the PSG kit, does it feel right? Like, are you looking at something that feels right to you? Are you looking at something that doesn't? It's like, this is a little bit off. And I think with Ronaldo and Messi, at this point in their career, there's nowhere that they really fit in right now. Like, there's not a clean fit, I feel like, because wherever they're trying to be at, not only is it not what they're used to, but the game is kind of moving past them. And I don't know, like, this may hurt people to hear this, but the game moves beyond certain players at a certain point in time. And so I don't see any other club that either of them could go to and they would have the same impact, the same, they wouldn't have that same feeling anywhere. So it's kind of like Ronaldo, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, okay, like Manchester United, that felt like something that could be good, but his body is failing him. It's not really the same feeling. I'm sure Manchester United fans are probably feeling like this is not the Ronaldo that we thought we were going to be getting. And with Messi, it's just, you see something quite similar. So I think they're in the part of their career where it's MLS or stop. That's really kind of what I think. MLS, go somewhere completely different and just have fun and do nothing. But I almost feel like they're too big for that as well. I think they're too big for that. And so it's one of those where it's kind of like, this is the natural evolution of the game. We're seeing other stars come to the forefront, the Haalands and the Mbappes of the world. And the game is it's just a natural evolution for them to just kind of be not the stars of the game anymore. And it's evident because the places that they're going, they're just not fitting in. This is not new for Ronaldo. He went to Juventus. That wasn't really a good fit. He's at Manchester United right now. It doesn't really feel like a good fit. Messi, he's at PSG, not really good fit. The one thing I will say is that I feel like Messi should have taken maybe like a pay cut or something to stay at Barcelona. I think that probably would have been a better option than him leaving.
I agree. And I think he probably, in his heart of hearts, regrets it now. I think he probably in his heart of hearts thinks, I should have stayed. I should have done something. And again, that's why I'm saying that's the regret. And there was a comment that came through. I wanted to read it out, and it said, it basically said, Terry, like, stop the stop this, not this one, it was a different one. Thanks for that, Samuel, though. Thank you. He said that stop the sort of Messi slander. This ain't slander. I'm not having a pop at him. I'm not having a go. I'm not saying like he's a bad player. He was always overrated. I'm not doing the weird Ronaldo versus Messi man-child spiel. I'm talking about a player that I loved watching, who I have the utmost respect for. I'm just thinking to myself, like, the impression you give me. And look, Messi isn't going to get. Messi's one, not going to see what I've said. Secondly, he won't be triggered by it either, because it's just how it feels to me watching him. I'm a fan. I'm giving a fan opinion on what I see. If he turns it round in the second half of the season, and then next year he's all guns blazing and looks happy, fit, fine, then I'll say, yeah, I was wrong. Like, I don't care about being wrong. It's just the impression that he gives me. Where Ronaldo is different. Ronaldo looks like he is determined to still prove like I'm the best, but his body's failing him. His body's like last night's goal was very, very good indeed. There's no doubt, because he got the shot away. It was actually interesting to see him shoot almost in the turn at the same time. That looked like Ronaldo of 5, 6, 7 years ago. He was doing that all the time. He was shooting before anybody was set. The shot in itself was great. He just can't do it anymore. When he went past the goalkeeper against Southampton at the weekend, Messi, even 3 years ago, his body would have enabled him to have turned more to get more power on the shot. You almost get to that point where it's like, I don't like always quoting this, but it's true from Batman. Like, you can either go out, die the hero or carry on long enough to become the villain or whatever it is. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
The expectation of these players is so high that when they're not delivering 40, 50 plus goals a season, the reaction is very negative towards it. Where, and I just don't want to see that for these two. I just don't want to see it.
Yeah, I guess
odds.
Because it's kind of like they're still too, like, they're not, and this again, like, we're talking about right here in the moment what we're seeing. So, like, just like Terry said, they could have good second half to the season, and this looks like a conversation that didn't need to be had. But based on what kind of we've seen in this first half of the season for both of them, they're not good enough to play. They have gone past the point where they could play at the highest level and make the impact that you would expect from Messi and Ronaldo. But I also think they're too big, like, of personalities, of stars, to go anywhere else but top clubs. Like, can you see Ronaldo or Messi at, like, that next tier below? Could you see them at a Napoli or an AC Milan, or could you see them there? Like, I couldn't see them there. Could you see them at, like, Atletico? No, couldn't see them there. Could you see them at Arsenal? No, because we are, like, tier below. So it's like they're too big to go to lower teams because you can't see them there. But they're not good enough to play at the top echelon anymore, and that's sad to see. But, like, this is normal, I feel like.
It happens to everybody. Everybody's career comes to an end. Again, there's a handful. Ryan Giggs and Maldini stands to mind. I think Totti was another. There are 2, 3, 4 players that I can think of who remained at the very highest level, winning until the very end into their late 30s. Paul Scholes, early 40s with some of these guys. It's rare. It's as rare as you like, unless you're willing to play at a lower level. Teddy Sheringham went on into his 40s, but wasn't winning trebles at Manchester United. He ended up dropping down the echelons. And I look at Messi, and it was kind of, his team won last night, but I just felt sad watching him. I just saw, I don't know why. I didn't feel nice. I've seen it with fighters before, where fighters go on too long, and they have. I was always a big fan of David Haye, heavyweight boxer, as an example. I'll give you a better example. When Mike Tyson got in the ring, got knocked out by a British fighter called Danny Williams. Danny Williams was a decent European level fighter. He wasn't a world level fighter, but he beat up Tyson bad because Tyson was over the hill, weren't in his right frame of mind, should never have been fighting at that age and at that stage. But it was a defeat. Ricky Hatton did it. He came back out of retirement after getting beat by the best 2 pound for pound fighters of our generation and got beat by an average fighter. It's like, man, why did you do that to your legacy? It bothers me. Go out of us remembering you as. Let's go out as, remembering you as the stars of which you were, and not what you're going to become. And that's what I like to see there.
But also at the same, like, I hear people saying, like, okay, well, it's because he missed the penalty. It's not because Messi missed the penalty. Like, it's not just that. I mean, that made it worse. But like overall his performance was just okay. Like Mbappe carried them to that win. It didn't have much to do with Messi. And so like it's not one or the other, you guys. And like this is the thing, it's like most of the time the conversations that we have are in that gray area, but because he missed the penalty, you think we're going over the top. But anybody who's watching Messi with eyes that have vision, like, and see that he's not really doing what people expected him to do at PSG. So it's an honest conversation to have. And it's not just because he missed a penalty. It's because he literally doesn't look like the same player. And that's why, and we're not saying that he's terrible either. But Messi, when he went to PSG, we expected Messi.
Well, I expected, the guy's got 2 Ligue 1 goals. And he's Lionel Messi. He's playing in a league which is bang average. PSG are a very good team. We see that what they do in the Champions League, but everyone below them, it's a cakewalk. And the irony in it is, this is why I say it. When Man United when you sign a player from that league, everybody's like, yeah, but how good do we really think he is? Because what's he, it's the Uber Eats leagues. Can he do it in the Prem? Can he do it in the Liga? Well, you have to have the same energy in reverse. When someone is elite in one of the hardest leagues, and then they go to that league, if they're not delivering, you've got to look as to why. Now, we're not challenging Messi's ability. His quality, his consistency, his brilliance. He's a god of this. He's a god. He's not from this planet. He's not from this world. However, he is human. Like his ability ain't from this world, but his body is human, and it's failing him. And I think he's mentally checked out. But viewers, I want your thoughts, and I want your feelings on that one there. I really, really do. Interestingly, Marcus Rashford has tweeted.
Great.
He's come out here. He's quote tweeted Christian Falk and said, Christian Falk has said today that the English players like Maguire, Rashford and co are irritated that Ronaldo wants to lead the dressing room with his own clique. There is a risk of a split. And Rashford has come out and said that we just making it up as we go along now? Then please stop looking for divides as an example. Look, interesting from Rashford. I didn't expect any of the players to go, yeah, we've been leaking information. Someone is, though. Like, what I'll say is this. Someone is leaking. And I think what's been really intriguing about this is a different type of story. I haven't said anything about Rashford or Maguire leaking any story that Ronaldo's a problem. What I do think the Man United players do, and this is where semantics become an issue, I still believe that when it comes to our players are not training very hard at the moment, and that's why we're struggling coming out. And then a player releases via 3 or 4 credible outlets that he does extra work and he comes in early and he's doing this and he's doing that. That's still sharing inside information because it's private. It's training information to make yourself look better. I do think, and maybe people don't like the word, people assume the word leaks. It's like you're leaking a conspiracy. Let's just say sharing stories. I think they're all at it in one way or another. But what you tend to see happen in these scenarios is when a story that a player sees is untrue comes out, they shut that one story down. And then everybody goes, the rest of it must be nonsense then. Well, someone's leaking information out of Man United. Like it's happening. Like Gary Neville didn't lie. Like, he isn't lying. He isn't sitting there on TV lying. But listen, fair play to Rashford for calling out what Christian Falk said. If he's saying that isn't true, I'll take Rashford's word for it. But he needs to improve on that pitch. That's the most important thing that needs to happen there. Arsenal. A lot of disrespect for Arsenal at the moment, I feel. Do you not?
What are we talking about? Disrespect.
So, let me explain what I mean here.
Yeah, set me up better so I know what we're talking about.
Arsenal Football Club, for me, are the favourites right now for the top 4. They're the favourites. Spurs have shown themselves, even with Antonio Conte. They've proved me wrong. They've shut my mouth.
Who?
Tottenham.
Who's their manager?
Antonio Conte. Yeah, I'm just using an accent. It's all right. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like that's really funny. I've got a friend that speaks like me, but every time he says Barcelona, he goes Barcelona. He puts this like lisp on like he's Catalonian. I'm like, why are you doing that? He says, they said Barcelona. I'm like, but you don't need to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of weird, right? Anyway,
I'm dead.
Right, yeah. So Antonio Conte, he then becomes Spursy with him. That's happened. 100. Man United, we've seen the irony of winning last night is crazy. It was actually our worst performance of the last 4 games, and it's the one that we win. It's funny because ZT on our show the other day said this Man United team's so mad that we could beat Liverpool. He goes, I wouldn't put it past us to beat Liverpool, then like lose our next 3 games. And what everybody heard in that was, you think you can beat Liverpool, you're deluded. He's like, no, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying that we're so crazy as a team, we could do that and then be crap afterwards. And that's the point.
Yeah.
So we're so inconsistent. And Spurs are Spursy. Therefore, Arsenal are the favourites. Is the kind of general consensus from people right now. But the way I look at it is this. That's where the disrespect comes in. Because people are not talking about Arsenal and their improvements, where they've become better, where they've become more solid, where they've put themselves into a position by winning more games, conceding less goals than at this stage last year, to be ready to pounce. I understand totally that Man United and Spurs are not as good as some people anticipated, either from the beginning of the season or from the managerial changes. But I find it really disrespectful towards Arsenal that people are discounting their improvements and their ability from this point to push themselves into the top 4. Like, I didn't believe they would make it at all. But now I look at it, they still may not make it because you have to deliver against the promise. But I do feel like you're the favourites now of the 3. West Ham will fall away. There's too many games in hand. You'll win. I think Arsenal are the favourites, and rightfully so, because you've been the most consistent of the main 3 challengers. Whether or not you deliver against the expectation is one thing. But what I find disrespectful is how people just want to say, oh, Arsenal might get it, but it's only because Man United are rubbish. I don't like that. I think it's too disrespectful towards the improvements at Arsenal Football Club.
Okay. Yeah. So this kind of couples very nicely with me with the complaint that I put into the manager the other day, about how all of our players are crap until they're linked with your team. Then they're linked with somebody else. They're linked with Barcelona, Real Madrid, your team, your club. And then all of a sudden, oh, he's great. He would look great at Liverpool. He would look great at Man United. He would look great at City, And so one minute our players are terrible. None of them can make it in any combined 11, but they would look good in your team. It's BS, And so with this whole thing, I'm okay with being the favorites. Cool with it. I think that we have a much better chance than I thought maybe a month or two ago. A month or two ago, I was thinking everybody was smoking when they were saying that we could make it into the top 4. But now that the inconsistencies from Manchester United and Spurs have held out a little bit longer, and I'm seeing that they're, they really are a lot more inconsistent than I thought that they would be, I think it's more possible. But other teams being bad doesn't necessarily mean that you can capitalize on it. The only way you can capitalize on it is if you have quality, you have consistency, you win games. So for people to put us as favorites, but then in the same breath say that we're crap. Well, if we're crap, then how will we even take advantage of their inconsistencies? Arsenal, we have good players. We're a good team. All the teams that are in the top 6/top 7 are good teams. They're all good teams. We're a good team. We're part of that as well. We have good players that get in combined 11s. We have players that are always disrespected, but yet and still we're favorites. I'm okay with being favorites, but I'm not going to be favorites and shit at the same time. I'm not, because that doesn't make sense. That's not to say that we're the best team in the world. I still think that if Man United decided to play even 5% better than they are right now, they would easily make it into the top 4. But as long as they're inconsistent, we have a chance. And that's because we have the quality to take advantage of the inconsistencies. So there is disrespect there. But at the same time, I accept it as what it is, because until we deliver, people won't take us serious. You know, there's also an element from Arsenal fans that we have to remember, that the reason why people don't think that we're any good, and they can make these comments with no context and no backing really, is because they'll always just go back and say, well, you finished 8th 2 years in a row, so how could you be any good? You don't have any Europe, whatever. So there's that element as well. So unless we kind of prove people wrong, we'll always be a team that's disrespected. But in normal footballing conversations, I just find it really strange that Arsenal are favorites, but none of our players can ever make it in combined 11s. Arteta's the worst manager out of all of them, but somehow we're supposed to be able to take advantage of United and Spurs not being any good. That doesn't wash for me. So yeah, but that it's all up in the air, isn't it? Because I don't even think Spurs are going to be as bad as they are right now the entire time. I don't think Man United are going to be as bad as they are all the time. I think we're going to go through our bad periods, but the amount of inconsistency between the three teams, I think, it gives us a bigger window than I thought that we did have. And now I'm feeling more like, if we could be consistent and we show our quality, we may be able to do it, you know. But it is going to come down to the games that we play against each other as well. You know, it's not just the consistency through the teams, like playing against teams outside of the top 6. It's also going to come when we play against Spurs away from home. We play against you guys at home, you know. So I think it's going to go down to the wire. But Arsenal, we can't really be in it if I remember sitting there before we played Wolves, and people were saying that player for player, Wolves are better than us. They're not. They're not.
No,
you know,
no.
But it's like, we don't have any good players, but Saka's good as soon as he's linked with Liverpool. It's bullshit.
Again, it's just, do you know what, that kind of level of, like, I understand fandom and banter, it just becomes tiring, and you know, it's the level of disrespect is crazy. I just sort of look at it from the point of view of, I just simply want people to be a bit more consistent with their views. And as you say, like, we know that Arsenal have partly had an opportunity presented to them because Man United have been not as good this year as we expected them to be. They haven't been as good at yielding the points since Ralph's come in. That's presented an opportunity. But the only reason the opportunity is there is because Arsenal have also put themselves into this position. If Arsenal were as poor as they were last year, I think you guys are 8, 9, 10 points better off this year. If you were 10 points away from where you are now, you wouldn't be the favorite. So you had to have improved to get there. And I think these two things exist at the same time. The interesting thing is going to be this: there's still such a long way to go, really, in the league. Arsenal have got 16 games left, which is just under half a season. Man United, 13 games left to go. United have still got 39 points available. Arsenal, interesting with Arsenal, the games in hand are really interesting, because the games in hand you've got Chelsea, you've got Liverpool, and Spurs are the actual 3 games in hand. Even though Wolves is being played on a night where nobody else is playing, your actual games in hand are those 3 teams, where they're all you can lose them all. They're not, without being disrespectful. And then suddenly the games in hand mean very little. But even if you lost all 3 of your games in hand right now, you're only 4 points behind us. And your trajectory in recent weeks has been better than ours. And it's a worry for me. Spurs, those 3 defeats on the bounce. The maddest thing is they've still got 3 games in hand. They win their 3 games in hand, they go on to 45 points and they're in 4th. However, I just don't think people keep speaking about Spurs' quality and the lack of quality here, lack of quality there. I'm like, hang on. Those first 8, 9 games, 10 games under Conte, the quality didn't bother them. They were winning. As soon as it was like, right, we've bought in some players, we've got rid of some dead wood. We've now got 2 winnable games back to back that would put us into the top 4 with 3 games in hand. Spursy comes out. That's my take on it. And I know people go, that's too simplistic. Well, football sometimes is a very simple game. Very, very simple game indeed for me. And that's what I can see. Super chat here from earlier on from Wayne. It says, big up yourself, Terry, and the gorgeous Jess is what he said.
Thank you.
He says, Arsenal's disrespect has become corny now. There seems to be a bias against Arsenal in sports media. I think with fans especially, it has become most of the jokes now, it's like, that joke's so dead now. Like, move on from it. I agree. I agree with you completely on that, Wayne. It has become very, very tiresome. Jason said that Arsenal is where they are now, not because of because they are fantastic or consistent. It's due to Spurs and Man United imploding. Wolves will be the dark horses, is what Jason has got to say. Why didn't Rashi come like this when Gary Neville spoke? Gary Neville didn't name him individually. Christian Falk did. It's interesting as well. I've had some DMs from people saying, I told you it wasn't Rashford. I'm like, you didn't read my thread though, brother. Watch my video. I didn't say Rashford was the guy who was leaking fights or saying that Ronaldo was a problem. I said that Rashford, in my opinion, most certainly shared training ground stories about his training habits versus other people's, when at the time on the 12th of January, the big rumors were players don't want to train in the dark. Certain players are refusing to work and run and train for Ralph. Then he came out with that. And I thought that was wrong because the irony in that, his tweet there, he says, don't create a divide. When you share information like that to say, I'm not one of the people that's misbehaving, you're creating a divide. And people have failed to ask me questions or to read my thread or to watch the content. So they're taking it as, well, you said he was the leaker. I'm like, watch the video. I did a Facebook video too, a YouTube video, Twitter video. I said, all the leaks are different. Some people, it's purely about, are they staying or leaving? Some it's about training habits. Some it's about things that Ralph's doing wrong. But all of it is to self-preserve people, the view people have. So look, and Rashi was never going to come out and call Gary Neville out because Gary Neville never named him. But do you know what's ironic about it as well, though, Jess? What was the saying you said at the beginning of this pod about
a hit dog will holler?
Yeah, so that's what's intriguing about it. If you believe in that saying at the beginning of the show, like, is it a hurt dog or a hit dog will holler? Maybe that's
a
what it is.
hit dog will holler.
Yeah,
so,
and I think, Rashford's the one who's come out to a media outlet via his agent and gone, yeah, Ronaldo's causing problems? No, I don't think Rashford's done that because that's not Rashford's style. What I do think, though, if there was rumours that 3 or 4 players in the dressing room have been doing things wrong in the training ground, I think you would see a story come out within a few days that talks about how amazing Rashford is in the training ground. And I don't like that either because I agree with Rashford. It creates a divide. So well done for saying that, Marcus Rashford. I agree. Costa Cow here says, yes, Terry and Jess got back from Lincoln City around midnight last night. 3 points for Doncaster. Best wishes to Lincoln fans who collapsed as well. Another fan. Jesus Christ. That's mad. The type of... Okay, there's lots of... These are all off topic a little bit here, but it's cool. This one here says, the type of player he is makes it harder for him. He was a great dribbler carrying the ball, then finishing. He should drop and pick out passes now, is what Samuel says about Lionel Messi. I think that's a good shout. Messi will be back for sure. I'm sure of it. He ain't finished, is what Samuel says as well. Zlatan's still going strong in Serie A. This is true. Zlatan is still going strong. There's no doubt about it.
But see here, he was an example that I was thinking of. But Zlatan has went to the MLS and came back and went to AC Milan, and so I can't see Ronaldo and Messi doing that. You know, as big as Zlatan is, he's not. There's another level up. That is Messi and Ronaldo. Can you see them going to MLS and then coming back and then just chilling in Serie A? Can you see that? I can't see it. Like, I can't. Like, I can't.
No, I hear you. I hear you completely.
Not because they wouldn't be successful, but because I think the expectation of them and them being who they are, I don't think they can live a life of just chilling at AC Milan. You know,
I hear you. Dinesh here says Man United, West Ham, and Tottenham still need to come to Anfield. They could lose those games. Of course they could. There's no doubt, and they're all losable. Look, listen, all of the teams in the top 4 race are still going to probably lose. I think at least 3 games each, a minimum of 3 games each between now and the end of the season. Big up yourself. Okay, so we already had that one. Now, Michael here says the best about Liverpool is that they listen to their rubbish fans with recruitments. I'm not too sure what you mean there, Michael, but thank you. You lot, let's be honest, we've spent money, but we developed world-class players instead of buying them already. Like City, you're downplaying our achievements with the level of budget we've spent. Not trying to downplay anything, so if it sounds that way, like I drop that notion because I'm not. Secondly, like Pep has developed players as well. Pep made Raheem Sterling a better player. Pep has developed the quality that he's bought as well. Let's not act as if...
I mean, was Rodri a world-class player when he got there?
Nah.
Like, let's look at all of the players that they brought in. I really think that when you look at what Manchester City has done, even though we look at their players now and we're like, they're all world class, they bought Gundogan for like 20 million from Borussia Dortmund. You know, they brought Rodri and everybody thought he was dead until this season. And now people are calling him what he is. Raheem Sterling obviously come from Liverpool. Nobody thought he was world class until he got there. I don't really think they've bought like a bunch of stars. Do you know what I mean? In that respect, you know, what they've actually recruited really well too. They've done it at a more hefty level, like meaning like instead of getting one or two players, they get 3, 4, whatever. But like, I really think people have to look at what Man City has done. Before Ruben Diaz, I believe most of their signings were between 20 and 50 million. Like they really weren't out there spending 100 million on every single player that they get. So like they've also, like you said, developed players and they've also recruited really well. But that's not to take away from what Liverpool has done. And we all recognize that the level to which Liverpool has spent is not the same. But I also won't accept the we were poor argument.
Yeah, I think it's how these things are framed all the time. You know, like one of the things I always say is that no one in the top 6 in the Premier League is an underdog by the conventional sense of the word. I find it's too big a play. Easy A says, I have to state this again, and I never got bored of it. We never, ever buy ready-made players. Instead, we turn them into world-class superstars. I mean, I think Van Dijk, I think Alisson, I think Thiago, I think Fabinho. These were all very experienced players, already like mid-20s, early mid-20s and above when you bought them. Even to a degree.
Is Luis Diaz a prospect?
Yeah, again, I don't look at Luis Diaz. I wouldn't say he's world class, but like he's definitely not like a kid. He's 25 years old.
This is kind of the thing. It's like we will give you obviously it's the respect is there from them being well bought players that weren't necessarily considered world class that became world class when they got to Liverpool and played under Klopp and all of that. But let's not act like they were all players out of your academy. Trent was really the only player out of your academy. These weren't really like we have to like keep it 100. You know what I mean?
I again, Mane and Salah, like both of them in their like early mid-20s, already established. Was anyone talking about them as being world beaters? No, but they were already experienced footballers. So again, I think there is did you buy superstars, people that were already like world-class Ballon d'Or contenders? No, absolutely not. No one's claiming that. But again, it's the overplay sometimes of everybody we bought was young, unheard of, not fancied. You know, you broke the world record on a centre-back and a goalkeeper because you could and you did. You know, and look, Fabinho was a player that was linked with big clubs for 2 or 3 seasons. So I just think there's a happy medium in explaining it, really. Does Klopp hide Liverpool's cracks, IG, and aging squad? To a degree, because he's a top-class manager, but they're recruiting and they're bringing in younger players, and they're going to have Fabio Carvalho join. A lot of Liverpool fans think Jude Bellingham might be going there. They're looking to sort it out. But then, you know, it's going to be funny. If you buy all those players and you're not really selling anybody because the players are coming to end of contract, you're not getting big money, you might go for a few years where the net spend looks bad. Are you then going to be less happy with the recruitment and the victories? You won't. Like, the irony is, if your net spend over the next 3 years is plus 200 million, none of you are going to care, Liverpool fans. You're just going to go, but we're winning, and that's all that matters. That's why the argument for me is arbitrary, really. So Arsenal are in the spots based off of their improvements, but yet last year rivals said United were in a false position because other teams fell off. Well,
I don't believe in false positions.
Yeah,
I actually don't believe in them. I thought when we were in 4th, and just like right now, Man United are in 4th, right? You guys are in 4th, right? So are you in 5th? Where are you? But you guys, you guys are in 4th. So it's not a false position because we have 3 games in hand. It's not like, because we actually have to win those games. And you guys were, of course, we expected Chelsea to be a lot better and Liverpool not to get those injuries that they did last season. But the reason why a lot of people thought Manchester United would be fighting for the title is because we actually believed that they were really good based on where they finished the season prior, which was 2nd. Yes. So I know that there's some rivalry people do that. I don't believe in false positions. I believe you finished where you did because you deserve it, and you were able to capitalize on other teams not being where they should be, because just because other teams are inconsistent doesn't mean you can take advantage of it. And United did that last season when they finished second.
I agree. And Josh, I hear your challenge, but I would say for Jess and I, like, that's not things that we believe in. But I hear you. But that's just football fans for you. You know, again, football fans, look at take it away from positions. Look what I spoke about. I was very clear yesterday in my thread, in my videos, on what I think Marcus Rashford has leaked. So I'm still getting DMs now. See, he didn't leak the stuff about Ronaldo. I never said he did. People hear what they want to hear and they see what they want to see, and they bend and change their morality when it suits them to win a point. Confirmation bias is a mad thing. Terry hasn't been played well this year. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Giroud has been the reason we are better. Ibra has been injured. Oh, again, I don't watch it, bro. So I just read out super chat, my guy. So I don't watch it with Zlatan. I'll be honest with you. So I don't know, my friend. I don't know.
Terry doesn't watch other leagues.
No, I haven't watched AC Milan play. The best thing about Liverpool is that they don't listen to their fans when it comes to recruiting. Okay, right. That makes more sense now, Michael. I hear you on that. Listen, and they shouldn't, to a degree. They shouldn't. But listen, everybody that has tuned in, a big thank you to each and every single one of you. We're live after Inter Milan versus Liverpool tonight, so around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Do me a big favor and smash that like and that share button before you leave. Thank you to Fan Team. Go check out their website now. The link's in the description and live comment section, and go sign up to your free account. Jess, pleasure as always. Thank you very much indeed. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless.